someone tries to ridicule you, criticize you, or make fun of you, the first thing which gets affected is our ego. And mind you, our ego is not used to take up any form of insult or injury. It immediately tries to recover the lost ground. It immediately tries to recoup its lost image. And it comes up with some form of ego repair mechanisms. Now, these ego repair mechanisms, they can range from an offensive reaction, a defensive reaction, or even an imaginary reaction. If the reaction is offensive in nature, then the ego comes up with anger or violence, or we start hurling abuses at the other person. We even start counter-blaming the other person. If the reaction is defensive in nature, we start to come up with all forms of explanations and logics and reasonings for our behavior. If, on the contrary, the reaction is imaginary in nature, then the ego takes us into the world of illusions, delusions, and fantasies, whereas nothing happens on the ground reality. Now, whatever these ego repair mechanisms may be, one thing is very clear, that ego is not interested in knowing the truth. Ego is not interested in knowing who is right and who is wrong, what is right and what is wrong. It is simply interested in self-preservation. So, these mechanisms, they are simply giving us a temporary hike, a transient surge in our ego. But beyond that, every time we resort to them, our ego goes for a toss and we are increasing our dependence on ego. So, what to do whenever our ego is traumatized, whenever our ego is hurt? One very powerful exercise is to allow for the diminishment of ego without any attempt to repair or reform or to restore it. That means whenever someone tries to belittle you or make fun of you or to jeer at you or to ridicule you, simply do nothing. Do not retaliate. Do not take up the offensive or the defensive route. Simply, consciously feel the situation. Simply feel what you are going through at that moment. Feel the pain. Feel the agony. Feel the discomfort you are going through. Allow your self-image to remain at a lower ebb for a certain period of time. And then, if you stay at it, you find that a sense of expansion, a sense of spaciousness, it starts to develop on the inside. And you feel that nothing actually has been diminished. Nothing has been depleted. And rather, there is an increase in your inner strength. And you start to come out of the stranglehold of ego. Now, my dear friends, if this practice is sustained over a period of time, you'll find that this increase in your inner strength will be assisted by the universal power and the universal energy, which would further reduce your dependence on ego. So now you'll be able to face all kinds of situations of insult or injury or criticism or blaming without any provocation, without getting into the defensive mode or the offensive mode or the imaginary mode. So you will develop a countenance, you will develop a behavior wherein your words will carry credibility. And you can simply tell the offender now to back out in no uncertain terms. So you develop a sense of tranquility, a sense of calmness, of serenity on the inside. And your dependence on the defensiveness, on the offensiveness, on the imaginativeness of the ego repair mechanisms, it starts to decline. Now you are able to hold your ground firmly and you stop becoming a slave. You stop becoming a victim to your ego.